Welcome to a Psalm for today. We continue our investigation into how the Lordship of Jesus influences our self-giving. In the holiday season in America, it is a season of giving. I thought I would investigate for my own learning and share with you how in the season of giving, God not only gave things, and God said, "Let there be light." There was light. He gave light. But for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, he gave himself. And we find that difference in our own lives, the difference between giving of our things and the giving of ourselves. I've heard about people who fail to give of themselves all year long and then pour out abundant gifts on their family or friends, and sort of as a way to say, I've not been around, here's some gifts to make up for it. But gifts don't make up for the giving of the self-giving. I have a few notes I jotted down about what happens when we give ourselves, because that vulnerability and that risk in giving of ourselves is challenging sometimes. When we give of ourselves, we can then have a deeper connection and a deeper belonging. If it's my image of self-righteousness bumping into your image of self-righteousness, there's no real koinonia there. So there's no real fellowship. The giving of the self then allows a deeper connection. The giving of the self allows healing and freedom from secrecy. It allows us to not feel that who we really are is not loved, that what we really are and what we think, what we've done, what we hope to do is not in secret, where shame and temptation and all kinds of things grow. When we share our real self, there's burden bearing that we do together. The Bible says, "Bear ye one another's burdens." It also says, "Carry your own little burden," but it's mutual burden bearing. I have more, but today I wanted to talk about something that I think is pretty amazing. When you have $10 and you give away one, you now have 9. 10 minus 1 is 9. However, when you give of yourself, it's not that way. When you give yourself away, the self actually grows. Your self actually flourishes. The proverb that comes to mind, I believe, is Proverbs 11:25. And it's, "He who refreshes others will himself be refreshed." But I memorized that years ago. But check out the first part of verse 25. "A generous person will prosper, and he who refreshes others will himself be refreshed." As you think about the holiday season or birthdays or those events in life where it's common to give gifts, remember that it's when you're generous that you will prosper, and that when you refresh others, you yourself are refreshed. Let's just say that we could give our soul in ounces. A person who gives away an ounce of their soul or of their self doesn't have an ounce left. They have that ounce plus it is refreshed. So in this self-giving way, when we give of ourselves, we find ourselves fully integrated. We find ourselves fully whole. For example, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son." When God gave himself in Jesus, God was not less. There was nothing less than God. When Jesus was inside Mary's womb, there was nothing missing in God. Even though God gave himself, there was nothing missing in God. As you think about what you want to do with your life, and how you want to be involved in the giving of the self, I think you will find yourself being refreshed. It doesn't matter what career field, it doesn't matter what job, it doesn't matter what type of vocation or avocation that you're involved in. You can practice the giving of yourself in every type of job, because there is the giving of yourself to your job, but there's also the giving of yourself to people. And in your daily today activities, in your daily work, you will interact with people, and in the right setting at the right time, you can give of yourself to them. You can give of your soul, your well-being. A generous person will prosper, and whoever refreshes others will be refreshed. May God help you and help me to be willing to take the risk of self-giving. Now, one of the things that is ironic is we need God's help to give the self, because when we give the self, it doesn't want to be given sometimes. So then it requires self-denial. So to give of the self requires a denial of the self at times. You'll notice that in Jesus' ministry. He said, if anybody would be my disciple, he must take up his cross, deny himself, and follow me. There is, God, I give you myself. I think most of us have said, God, here's myself. So God has ourself. But when we give the entire self to God and he asks us to go north and we don't want to go north, he has ourself, and yet we still have self-denial that we add to it. Some say protect the self, some say actualize the self, some, all different kinds of theories of the self. The Christian is not a theory. The Christian truth of the self is that we give ourselves fully to God. God, I give myself. On my Second Curve coaching sites, I've been talking about the goal of generosity and how it reproduces in ourselves good things. That when we give, new neural networks are developed. When we have gratitude, new neural networks are developed. So we say, God, you have myself. I'm filled with gratitude that you have myself. I'm fully thankful that myself is in your hands. Now I pray that you will help me deny that self. When self wants to climb up the ladder and you've called me to go down the ladder, help myself to be willing to go down the ladder. When myself wants to stay, but you ask myself to go, help me to obey your word and to go. You get the point, I think, that in giving of the self to God, which is surrender and giving are cousins. When we surrender ourselves to God, we then also say, I'm not only surrendered, but now I need to deny the self. As you consider the role of giving in this season, think not first about gifts. Think first not about the budget, so to speak, of dollars and baht and rupees and sifas. Think first about, in what way can I give myself more fully to God and more fully to my neighbor? What of myself does my neighbor need? What of myself do those around me need? My 10 minutes are up. I love you guys. God bless you as you continue to meditate upon the giving of self-surrender.